Hi everyone, my name is Mary. I'm 37. I lived in London for a long time and I was studying there. I will not tell you where I am living now, as the breaking information that I know may bring me harm and danger for my life. I was born and lived in the village Kobuleti in Georgia. It is situated near the Black Sea and is considered to be the rest place. Many people are coming each year from Europe and USA, also many guests from Russia and Armenia. It seems that I praise my birthplace, but all these are very important to my story, because all this happened there when I was 20 years old. All my youth passed with the tourists and I always communicated with them. My family had 2 cottages and tourists always visit there. We welcomed them and I served them as a guide. I took them to our villages, places near the sea, and this became the reason of learning English from the very childhood. Now I will pass to the story about a tourist which changed my life. Once, a 60 years old man came to our cottage. His name was Sir Benjamin Franklin, who came to Georgia for a conference. Of course, I was only 20 and I had already a job, but I was interested in physics too much. I like to do experiments in the field of physics. I found out that Sir Benjamin was a professor of physics. He was also good at chemistry and mathematics. We were always working and discussing the physics. He was interested in my thinking. Friendly speaking, I was always sure that there are many equipments and technologies which are unknown for people. The traditional physics was not interesting for me, as I wanted to discover the sphere, which was not yet discovered. Of course, I understand that there are many undiscovered things, but the most interesting is the time machine. I believe that it exists. Many people use them in their own purposes, both formal or informal ways. After many discussions, I told Sir Benjamin all my opinions about them. He smiled and told that I was in the right way. He told me that in his 20s he had both studied and made experiments in the field of non-traditional physics. Some of them were really foolish. Such experiments also were done in the sphere of chemistry and biology. He told me that he had a big laboratory where he did his experiments. And now I will tell you the breaking news. A thing about which I was dreaming was in one of the cabinets of that laboratory. I speak about the time machine. When Sir Benjamin told me this, I was in shock. I couldn't know what to say. When I asked him why did he tell me all that, he answered that he wanted me to become his assistant. He liked my interests. So after 10 days, I went to London with him, and the most interesting part of my life began there. The first day I left in Sir Benjamin's house. It was like a castle. I asked where was the laboratory, and he decided to show it. We went to the cellar. It was very light room. He had some parts and rooms. He opened one of the doors of that rooms. It was an equipment there. So Benjamin wanted to make a motor, which needed neither petrol or electric energy. In one of that rooms, scientists were doing experiments on dead animals. They wanted to revive them by the help of electric energy. So I understood that all the solutions he found in the electric energy. We went to the biggest room. I was shocked. There were such interesting and strange machines there. An iron chair, bottles full of strange liquid. Near it I saw a remote control. Strange buttons were on it, which had their own functions. In the corner I noticed an electric generator. I asked Benjamin what was it and what was happening. Sir Benjamin said that it was a time machine and the room was made comfortably in order to make a trip in the time. The chair was the place where a man should sit and make the trip. The electricity passed through the chair by the help of electric generators. The electricity was the main part of that trip. The remote control kept the appropriate quantity of the electricity. It is the main part of that process. Now I will answer to the most difficult question. I think it is interesting for everyone. How did the time machine understand what time to choose to travel? Of course, it is very interesting, and the answer is very simple. Everything in this life has its formula and its own calculation system. The time has its formula as everything in our life. So each year, each day has its formula, and I don't know the way of calculation, but Benjamin did. He told me that he had made many trips, but he didn't trust the secrets anybody. First, he worked with his brother, who had already died. The last was also a scientist. So I started to work with Benjamin and help him in each situation. Generally, I helped him to make trips. He made them and I sat by the remote control and follow everything to be normal. I brought from the future different things, photos, videos and even guns. I should mention that he only could travel to the 45th century, because it was very difficult to come back from the future time. Benjamin liked to go to the 38th century, as he found friends there, who made fake documents for him to make his life more comfortable in that time. It was done so as there were many terrors and aliens at 38th, and it was already normal for that times. Near 2 years passed, and Sir Benjamin suggested me to travel to the future. It was my dream. His friends from the 38th century made documents for me too. I went there to find out the people's life and had a special mission. I had to fly to the Mars and bring a photo from there. I went to the 3812s. I should say that it was very painful. You feel how the electricity passes through your body and bones. It was such a strange pain. You cannot believe. Everything was different at that time. The sky had a different color. There were green places in it. There was a new gas in ozone layers, which protected the sky from the harmful flights. The rockets were more than the airplanes. The planets were traded with each other, and there were many tour agencies. More than 100 planets had such agencies. It was fact that there were many bases in that planets. Many people worked there. Of course, there were also planets which didn't have the same surroundings as our planet. There were also closed cities there. Closed, I mean, they were separated and had also air, which were so important. So I should say that I appeared in the 38th century, and I even didn't recognize my planet as it was really different. There were many high buildings, which highness reached to the kilometers. Many flying machines were passing through the sky. There were no roads and the ground was green. Many plants, trees and flowers. People moved in the air. There were special equipments to do this. No traffic jams, no accidents. On the ground, people had only walking. The most interesting were the robots, which had mental abilities. They were not just iron things. They were speaking, laughing. Their bodies were made of iron and their faces were made of material like a silicone. They had also emotions. I was walking through the city when a man came to me who was wearing black clothes. First I became afraid and thought there was a problem. His name was Sean. He was Benjamin's friend and asked me to follow him. We walked away and went to his car. I couldn't forget that emotion when I was flying above that megapolises. The cities were so beautiful. You could see the people who were coming back, also many planes. The car didn't have steering wheel, the control was done by the sensor display, and everything was done automatically. On the front glass, the information about the trip and the weather was typed. Here the most interesting part started. We went to the tour agency from where I should fly to the Mars. If you remember, the main purpose of my traveling was the photo from there. It was also interesting that only Chinese people lived in Mars. They had contract with the whole world. They should bring the most expensive metals from Mars, nearly 70%. So, except them, the other people were guests and visited there only as a tourist. So I set to spaceship which had an oval form. It was looked like alien spaceship. For long roads, they used such spaceships which were harder and faster. Our flights lasted 4 hours. It was surprising as we thought it should last 9 months. This meant that we were traveling very fast. So I appeared in Mars. It looked like a desert where were many buildings. I immediately take a photo which I will show right now. Look, this is the photo I had taken in Mars. Here you can see the spaceships on which we came. You also can see buildings. Mars were very interesting and at the same time very frightening. We wore special clothes and started to have a walk. People found life in the Mars, reptiles who didn't need oxygen to live. We went to mines where people found expensive metals. I should also notice that metals were not like metals of our planet. I thought people worked at that mines, but only robots worked. Some of them had intelligence, and some were only for hard work. I also remember that many plants were added, but no life in each of them. There is life in Uran, but it is different from ours. The life like ours only existed in Andromeda Galactics, which was on the Devsak planet. There were intelligent creatures, looked like people, and were also animals. The people of that planet had doing trade, and even some people moved there to live. By the way, let's return to our story. In the Mars, I had walking near 2 hours and visit many places. You cannot imagine. People controlled the whole space. After my walking, I returned to the Earth and Sean brought me to the zoo. I was shocked there. There were many animals which had been living in another planets. I should notice that there were no animals out of zoo, even birds. Sean told me that there was space war, but it was not like the fantastic films from our times. They didn't want to take the Earth. We had taken one of Andromeda's planets. Its name was New Amorica. Its people served as slaves. Sean told me everything about the new history and showed techniques from the future. There were no phones, instead, people used watches, which were connected with the brain by the help of skin, and the process was under control of the brain. So the people were in touch by the help of telepathy instead of calls. They didn't watch films or photos. The information about them passed immediately to the brain. Sean and me were talking, and I felt a strange electricity after I opened eyes and found me in Benjamin's laboratory. He was standing and looking at me. I gave him the equipment by the help of which I took the photo in the Mars. I always surprised while looking at that facts, which were brought from the future by Benjamin. He was afraid that the time machine would bring an evil. I could take it and kept to show after these years. Benjamin ordered me to leave the laboratory and decided to work alone. I don't have any information about him. I even think that he had already died. I don't know whether the laboratory worked or not. I hope it will not pass to bad people. Thank you everyone for attention, and I thank ApexTV for giving me such opportunity.